Good afternoon. I am Marianne Abrahamson, Planning Commission staff, giving you an update on the RP-2 land use study. So here is an overview of the study area. The solid yellow is the RP-2 future land use designation lands in the Baum and Sun City community plan boundary. This is where the moratorium applies. So the study objectives for this future land use study are to review the market analysis and conduct public outreach, which will inform the policy recommendations for the RP-2 future land use category and suggest changes to applicable policies in the Land Development Code. So Kimberly Horn has been retained as the consultant for the future land use study portion. As Tatiana mentioned, WTLNA is conducting the real estate market analysis that will feed into the study, and we continue to work with departments with the county in regards to economic development, development services, and the community and infrastructure services departments, and are having meetings with them, getting feedback to any type of proposed change that will come out of this study. So as mentioned prior, there have been a series of stakeholder interviews which began earlier this year when we can still hold in-person meetings. So WTLNA and the Planning Commission staff conducted face-to-face interviews with RP-2 stakeholders at the South Shore Regional Library, in addition to various phone interviews. And we were lucky to be able to hold our open house in person on March 11th at Summerfield Elementary. So you can see some images here from that open house. Over 60 people attended the open house, which began with a briefing, a brief presentation, and then went into different stations where people could provide their input and feedback and speak one-on-one with the consultants, county staff, and Planning Commission staff. Since then, we've pivoted from the form of outreach. Previously, we planned to do in-person interviews and a workshop to all virtual engagement. So a virtual workshop was held for about a week in April, which consisted of presentation slides with audio describing what we've heard from the stakeholders so far and presented some overarching draft recommendations. The workshop had an accompanying survey to provide participants with another opportunity to let us know their thoughts on the direction and materials presented. This was uploaded to YouTube and embedded on the project webpage on the Planning Commission website. We've been updating people via email who are on the RP-2 Constant Contact email listserv, and have also been using resources such as Facebook and Twitter to raise awareness and engagement. So for example, our public outreach team created reminder videos, if you will, promoting the workshop and survey, and posted the videos on social media. So as a supplement during the open house, a series of maps and visuals were created for participants to view in order to inform the conversation. And these residential permit maps were included with that. This provides a visual of residential permits pre-recession, during the recession, and post-recession. The blue line represents the urban service area. And we feel like this serves as an interesting view as to where growth has occurred and where we may suspect growth to occur in the future with respect to activity along the urban service area boundary. So this information was also provided during the open house. This data was provided by WTLNA as a part of the real estate market analysis, and this data shows that there's currently 13 jobs to every 100 residents of Baum, and within an 11-year period, the percentage of individuals who leave Baum for work elsewhere increased by 105%. Within approximately the same time frame, 619 jobs were lost. And WTLNA's data informed us that 41% of jobs in Baum are within the agricultural sector, which suggests that many of the 619 jobs lost are due to fluctuations in this sector of the labor market. So here is some information about what we've heard in the open house from people who attended in regards to their feedback on the area today and their vision for the area in the future. So some initial policy recommendations for the RP-2 land use study that we've been discussing with the consultants and with stakeholders and county staff are introducing policy refinement to the commercial housing ratio in response to the market reality that is provided by WTLNA, exploration of alternative options to support infrastructure improvements in the area, residential development standards in acknowledgement of varying character in the north and the south areas of the study area. And another thing that we've heard is very important for those living out there is the open space. So identifying options for connectivity of the open space in the area. So this schedule follows a similar schedule to WTLNA, or excuse me, to the WVR2 study. So although we're not updating the community plan with this scope, we're still trying to follow similar outreach strategies to make sure that both areas and both sets of stakeholders receive the same amount of opportunity to provide input. So as Tatiana had mentioned, we are looking at conducting a second open house in person, hopefully, depending on guidelines, in the summer. And we are trying to approach this with an awareness that maybe not everybody is going to be comfortable going to an open house in person. So we will be mindful of that and continue to engage people virtually as well. So the moratorium deadline, as mentioned by Tatiana, is subject to change based on the BOCC action, and hopefully we'll find more out about that in June to determine what the BOCC determines to be the right course of action for the moratorium deadline. So the RP-2 project webpage on the Planning Commission website, similarly, again, to the WVR2 project webpage, has an opportunity for people to stay engaged and sign up to receive any email updates and informs people of the progress of the study along the way. So that concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Green, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I got your message. Any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Powell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My first question is, you mentioned about the, I really couldn't see like that permit map. So I'm sure that it was like really nice, you know, like data to see. I couldn't see it, and I don't think it was in our packet. If I could get a copy of that at some point after this, that would be great just to have. But you mentioned that the jobs, you know, that were lost and that left, you know, the area, majority of those were agricultural, or were they thought to be, or to have been from like the agriculture area? And my concern, or not, I don't understand, is of those jobs that were lost, were those jobs that were like permanent jobs, or were those jobs for, you know, people who are like transient workers who are just coming in, you know, to help pick fields and things of that nature? And would we have lost those jobs, you know, either way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good question. So what the data is telling us is that the agriculture accounts for 41% of all jobs. 619 have been lost, but I don't know that we have a breakdown of specifically. Let's see, I can look into that, but I don't know that we have a breakdown of whether those jobs were transient jobs or not. But I can certainly look into that, because I think that's a really good question. Yeah, let me make a note of that because I don't know that I have that information here. So let me make a note and I will get back to you on that as well.
Okay, and then one last question as it kind of relates to that. I know that there's a job component with the land development code for that designation, but do we know what type of jobs that we're hoping to establish or have, like created there? Because are we looking for, Wall Street to move into Waimama, or are we, just hoping for, regular jobs such as employment from, restaurants or gas stations, things of, that nature? Like, what are we hoping to attract?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there is a commercial, currently there's a commercial requirement in the planned village category. And so that's something that we are looking at, whether that still remains something that's desirable or remains something that is really realistic now. I don't know that we are identifying necessarily what type of jobs we are suspecting that those commercial that commercial requirement would fill. Really anything, in my understanding, I see Jay's camera's on, so please feel free to interject, but in my understanding, anything that is really allowable under the commercial zoning criteria. So I don't know that we're looking to put big tech industry and bomb necessarily. My understanding is that it's commercial neighborhoods, neighborhood commercial jobs, if you will.
Right. Well, I mean, and that would make sense. It's just that I know with a lot of those types of businesses, you first have to have the people there, and the traffic counts and things like that first, before they're going to move in, to those areas. And to me, it just seems kind of wishful thinking that, hey, it's almost like we're expecting these businesses to be there before the people are there, and that's simply never going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's certainly some feedback that we've been hearing as well. So that's a significant part of what we are looking at now in the updates. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, go on.
Oh, I just had a separate question for Melissa, but I didn't want to interrupt your thought there.
No, it's okay.
Melissa?
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Sorry, this is a little weird for me.
Okay.
I'm trying to read from my notes here, so apologize for not looking directly at you here.
Okay.
But on the, how are you seeing the study area efforts? Are they similar, or are they different? Is there any sort of influence on one or the other?
Yeah, I think there certainly are some similarities that we're hearing in terms of desire to have infrastructure keep up with the development that's occurring in the area. I think there are some differences in that this area, the RP-2, there's more of a sentiment in BALM for keeping things lower density. In Waimama, I think there's more of a sentiment about creating that downtown, and they understand that they need some density to support that kind of commercial, and if they want to have mom and pop restaurants and things like that, they need customers. So I think there's some, that's where there's some difference, and I think you've hit on one of the key issues that we're going to have to figure out is how much commercial can each of these areas sustain, and because they're geographically different, but they're not that far apart either. And in the instance of the RP-2, there are some major commercial areas along Big Bend Road and 301 that are proximate, but it also, because of the traffic and the infrastructure issues, a number of the residents brought up concerns about how long it takes them to get there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions from any other commissioners?
I don't see anybody else unmuting themselves.
Okay.